What's up, everybody? Welcome back. In this video we're going to be starting on the here. Actually, I've already started on it. The only things I've done is pretty much loosen up the squirters. I'm not going to take these all the way out because they always break, so I'll just kind of prop them up and tape them and then clear around it. Got the headlights out, got the corner markers out. Not too bad, pretty easy stuff to get it off, but let's take a look at what we have to actually do to this thing. So as you can see, we got some work ahead of us. Let's just go a little bit closer look since we got the headlights and stuff out. See what all is back here. Looks like it's tried to been repaired back here, but just not, it's not properly. You know, it's not the way that I would do things. So we're gonna have to go through here and sand this all down. It's got some fiberglass that looks like he's tried to repair, you know, things like that. We're gonna have to clean that up because it's definitely cannot just prime over that and just hide it. So we're gonna clean all this up. Obviously we're gonna get all this stuff, we're gonna sand all this down. Started looking inside the wheel wells. Overspray of primers inside of there, so I'll respray all that black. Just got to get these screws out and then start working on this, but there are some chips on the sides. It's given, you know, it's fiberglass, it's got a chip and things like that, so I'll sand those down as good as I can and then sand all this stuff back down. Start marking all the areas that need body work. I mean, I'm just gonna go through and put a little bit of glaze on everything. That should do it. It doesn't really need anything too major, but there is a lot of little stuff, and unfortunately the little stuff like that is what takes the longest. All these little details, and it's a black car, so everything's going to show on it. Obviously he might wreck it again, so not going to get too carried away on it, but I do want to get it back to where it's, you know, decent. So what I'm going to start doing, first things first, before I worry about any of the body work, I'm going to go through with the red Scotch-Brite, and I'm going to Scotch-Brite everything that we're going to be painting. And I'm going to clear up a lot of this stuff. I'm sure there's probably some degreaser and some stuff and waxes on this, or I'll probably degrease it real quick. Probably get some glass cleaner and just go through and just pretty much wipe everything off before I start Scotch-Brite and get all that film and whatever wax is on there off. And then, like I said in the last video, if you haven't watched the last video, go back and look. But we're gonna burn in the clear in this general area right here. I'm gonna try to pick the smallest spot. So we're gonna Scotch-Brite everything forward, plus the hood, because the hood he tried to repair. So we're gonna fix that repair and get this thing ready. So let's get to it. Alright, so I just red Scotch Brite everything. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. So with Scotch Brighten, you just want to make sure you get all your corners, your edges, anything that sandpaper can't reach to. This is good to get, and plus everything else on the surface. You just want to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies and things like that. That way when you paint or clear or anything, it can wrap around those edges and it'll still bond together because it's got that scratch in it. So the bumper is looking pretty gnarly, but there's a lot of issues with it. I'm still debating on whether if I should just take it off and repair it right and do everything to it. But like I said, he needs his car back, he drives it, and I'd have probably 2 or 3 weeks in just repairing the bumper by itself, because on the bottom it's all pretty much all messed up, and it's just there's a lot of issues with it. So I'm gonna try my best to get it as good as possible for a primer, and then we'll go from there and assess the damage. If it doesn't look good enough to paint, we'll primer it again or fix it or take it off. We'll do that route. So we're gonna get back to it. I'm on it now. Switch to my DA. I'm gonna put 600 and 800 on it, and I'm just gonna DA everything I just Scotch Brite. And watch your corners so you don't burn through. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I took 320 over the entire bumper here, because I'm going to have to seal pretty much all of it anyways, because where he started fixing stuff, it's going to need primer, and it's going to need block, and it's going to need sealer over top before paint and clear. So I pretty much just sand it all back down with 320. I got getting the edges and stuff really well with my hands still, but I'm working on this piece right now. Something I wanted to point out was, you see kind of like it's got like a shiny overlay. That's because you either didn't prep it or you didn't use the good enough sandpaper, and the body filler is not adhering to this fiberglass, the paint underneath of it. So when you're doing this type of stuff, you have to use the right sandpaper. There's more than just slapping body filler on this and then sanding it and saying you're good to go. No, because this is just, it's pretty much, if I had fingernails, I could probably just take this and chip it all off. So I'm going to take some 180, get this all pretty much off, and then I'm going to have to reglaze it. And then I'm going to reglaze pretty much everything. And over there, I don't know just yet, but we're working on it yet. The fenders, they need some work still. But it's going to be a long process on this. It's not going to be just probably a video. I'm going to try to get the body work done here real quick, and then hopefully we'll speed to the primer process in this video, because I know the body work's probably going to take me a good a little over 10 hours to get this thing looking back to decent, because there's just a lot of issues. I got to make sure that everything I put on here is going to stick, and then I'm going to go through and like I said, re-primer pretty much the whole bumper almost, and then reseal the whole bumper. So I'm going to get jamming on this. I'm not going to bore you guys too much with it, and hopefully when I jump back in, it will be ready for primer. Alright, so I spent some time, actually pretty much addressed everything, and I did one thing that I said I wasn't going to do, but it's going to make the job a lot easier. Since this bumper, I took it off the car. He had a bunch of all the wiring and everything for his LEDs ran inside. If I would have painted all that together, it would have been just pretty much overspray all over that stuff. So now I don't have to worry about that. Totally gutted the bumper, went through and pretty much sanded down everything. This will allow me to do a better job anyways. Getting in there, priming it, painting it, sanding it, all that stuff. So we're to the point now where I need to clean it, and I can start actually putting some glaze in the areas that need to be glazed and finishing up the body work and things like that. Pretty much got everything feather edged really nice. Good thing about this bumper is this is the third time I've painted it, so there's a lot of material on it, so I'm able to sand the crap out of it and block it and get it pretty straight. Got all of his stuff feather edged. It was just peeling up, like I said, with my fingernail. Got all that stuff knocked down to where I don't have to worry about it not being able to stick, but I need to go through and just kind of clean the edges up, small stuff like that. I'll probably DA it one more time with 320, since I am pretty much painting this whole thing. And then got to fix the dent. He didn't do too bad of a job, but it is not straight enough for me for a black car. There's some high spots in it I need to knock down before I put some glaze on it, but it's not like caved in to where it's not fixable. So, but yeah, I'm gonna call tonight. It's pretty late. I need to get inside, so I'm gonna continue on tomorrow, and we're gonna continue on doing the bodywork to this thing. Hopefully getting the primer tomorrow.
Coming out swinging. Started out in the spring of 2003. Never went to school.
that is just one coat of clear. Looks like we're not gonna have any issues. So we're gonna let this stuff flash off for pretty much another probably 5 minutes. It's pretty warm today. The booth isn't even on bake, or it's not even on heat at all. So it's pretty warm. It's gonna attack up pretty quick. I could probably go ahead and restart this. I'm gonna make some clear up, do another coat, and then we'll bake everything. But so far so good, no issues. It's another day, so the car's really close to about ready to do body work on it. I'm gonna show you guys a trick that I usually do if I'm doing. I usually don't do body work at all, but usually if I have to, what I'll do first is I'll blow the car off or the area off really well, and then I'll take a brand new, semi-brand new on this case, but brand new towel that I've got, and I'll soak it in glass cleaner, and I'll just go over the spots where I need some body work and just clean that extra residue off. Because you don't want, when you're mixing your body work up and you're mixing it, you know, and you're spreading on the panel, you want that area to be clean as possible. That way you don't get any particles in there. You want it to be clean. That way you don't have to worry about anything down the road happening to it. But getting these little particles out, you can see how much dirt's on this thing already. Just getting that off the panel, that way you're not mixing it into your body work. And then it'll kind of help you eliminate dirt, pinholes, and other things too, as trying to get it all clean, that is. It'll just help you out in the long run with it. But I usually just go over every little area, and then before I mix up the mud, I'll do this to the panel as well. Whatever panel I'm mixing the mud on, I've got a piece of sheet metal over there that I use to mix up my mud on, and I'll sand it down every time I use it, and then I'll blow it off, and I'll do this on top of it just to keep the panels as clean as possible, keep the area as nice as possible, and eliminate any issues that you might have when you're spreading mud. They introduce this to a lot of like body guys, and they're like, I mean, that's a pretty good idea. I don't know why people don't do this. Usually body guys, what they'll do is they'll just blow it off really good, and then they'll spread their mud right over top of it. I've seen a lot of guys, I've caught a lot of body guys not even do that. They just pretty much just blow it up. They'll go blow it off, and then they'll start, you know, spreading their mud up, and I'm over there sitting there shaking my head like, what are you doing? Because you're just going to cause more trouble for yourself and for me, because I'm the one that has to fix all your pinholes when I go to paint it. So you want to make your area just nice, as clean as possible. That way, you know, it's just makes it a little bit easier on you. And I always like a clean working place, so I'm always pretty anal about it myself, just because. So, but that's just a little tip, you know. And then after I get done sanding on my filler, I'll actually blow it off and do the same thing. If it's ready for primer, I'll actually spray glass cleaner over the whole panel before I primer it. Obviously, I let it evaporate and get all that stuff out of there. That way you're not primering right over anything that's wet or not dried out yet. But thought I'd share just a little tip. Alright, so we got the spots. I use glazed putty. It's not heavy bond, you know, body filler. It's really thin stuff. It doesn't take much. You don't need to put a lot on of this. Technically, you're not really supposed to. If you are, you know, it's going to crack out on you real easily. So, but I'm just going around glazing a few areas, and then I'm going to show you guys this little area right here. If your body filler is starting to, when you spread it, it's starting to do this, just hang it up, clean your spreader off, and then wait to sand this back down and put some more on. It just means that the time is up for you to actually start spreading this. It just starts crumbling up, and it doesn't really spread it. It just kind of pulls itself. So if that's happening to you and you're wondering why, it's probably because you put too much hardener in it to begin with, and you're not getting enough time to work with it, and it's just drying on you when you're spreading it, and that's what happens. So just don't do anything with it. Just let it dry, let it do its thing, and then sand it, you know, hit it with some like 180 or whatever, then you're good to go, and spreading another coat over top of it. Just make sure it sticks to itself. So, but yeah, just really lightly went around in certain areas that I notice myself that need a little bit more love done to it. But other than all, not anything too major. I mean, it is, like I said, it's the smaller stuff, but we should be able to get this thing flat with as much as on here. Okay, so the first layer of glaze is finished. It looks, just by looking at it, it looks 10 times better. It's pretty straight as well. It's good enough for primer. I went around already and I kind of filled some of the areas that either they're too low still or had some like pinhole issues in them. So just by going around looking at everything, it looks a lot more complete, a lot more clean. Everything's feather edged. Some more spots I had to swipe, but everything else, it's looking really, really good. It just looks like it's feather edged nice, all smooth. This is as flat and as smooth as I'm gonna get it. These Bomex front bumpers right there in the middle, they were really wavy. So you pretty much have to re-fiberglass it if you're going for like a total show car look, because you'll never get that straight, they're so wavy. But all the edges and everything, all smooth. Even right here was really, really bad inside of here. So all that's nice and smooth and feather edged. It feels really, really straight for being fiberglass. You know, it kind of feels kind of funny in here. I might block this down some more, try to get it a little bit more straight. And then down here, it dried up on me again, but I swiped it again because there's a lot of pinholes in the fiberglass. So small stuff like that you got to watch out for. Like inside of here, like these little pinholes that are in fiberglass, I'll go around and swipe those with a little bit of glaze before I primer, just to get them all out. But that's one of the nightmares of working with fiberglass. Went around here and smoothed all this out. And on the bottom of this bumper, what I did originally the first time was, I'm not really too worried about the bottom, even though I did go ahead and filled some of this in, because this is where he got hit or he got in a wreck. So, but I originally went ahead and when I painted the first time, I used chip guard on the bottom. And it looks like it's lasted pretty well. There's a big chunk missing out of there, but you can tell where I kind of taped it off at. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and do that again on the bottom side. So a lot of this up to this front edge right here is gonna be chip guard down after I primer it. So a lot of this stuff is gonna clean up, because that chip guard, I can spray it on there really, really thick and hide a lot of stuff, and it'll protect the bottom a little bit better, since it looked like it was doing a good job. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. That's why I'm not really worried too much about the bottom. And this car sits pretty low, so it's not gonna be seen anyway. So I'm gonna let this stuff dry and go back, knock it over, clean it back off again, and then we'll look at it and double check everything. Anything little issues we'll fix, and then we'll be on to primering. Alright, so we're finally to the first priming stage. Might need another one after. We're going to give it 3 or 4 coats of primer. We're going to let it sit for 2 days, let it shrink up really good. Come back in and block sand everything. Another tip for when you're doing anything with the car, if you're going to be spraying paint, you just go ahead and just bag it. Bag everything. It'll keep it clean, keep all the dirt out, keep the rest of the car clean. Paint goes everywhere. No matter what you're doing, it will get on it. So just bag it. You know, it makes it a lot easier. And another thing is, when you're doing primer, give yourself enough room. I see a lot of people just taping squares off, primering the whole spot in. And what that does, when you go to block it, you got this squared off, let's say, and then when you're done and it's dry and you're ready to block it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna be blocking this side that's not primer, and you're going to be blocking all the edges around it, which is going to create little valleys. You're not going to actually block it flat. So you want to make sure you're feather edging it out and not fully sealing in your edges, or else you're going to have a lot of trouble when you go to block it. You're going to create a lot of ups and downs and valleys and hills. So make sure you give yourself a lot of room. And then the bumper, I went ahead, had to come through here and fix this little area right here. Got a little couple chips in it that I had to fix, things like that, but we're gonna really soak this thing. We're gonna put the first coat on, see what it looks like. Alright, so just got done putting the third coat on. It's already flashing off. I did put fast reducer and hardener in it, so it's going to dry really quick. We're going to let it sit for a day at least, but it looks really good. Here's the hood. When it was wet, I was looking down the side. It looked really flat. So it should be pretty easy work from here on out to block this stuff down. Got a couple sags in the primer. I did primer it pretty heavy on my second and third coat because I want to get at least 4 good strong coats on it. And this is what I mean by not squaring off. You see all the overspray? I didn't directly go towards the outside, so when I block this, it's gonna be smooth, no hard edge marks or anything. But from the looks of it, the bumper's got a lot of pinholes in the fiberglass. I tried to bury them and I ran the crap out of the bumper, but kind of see them right there. It's just a thing, with fiberglass, if you don't get them all filled, you're just gonna have to fill them, primer. So we're gonna have to sand this back down. Depending on what it looks like, if I can fill them without primering again, I'll do that. But for the most part, I'm gonna have to primer this thing again. You might as well do the car again, I guess, too, while I'm at it. But it's got little pinholes in it everywhere, but not bad. Should shrink up pretty nice. There's a big pinhole right there that didn't get filled, so it's just what happens when you go all the way back down to the fiberglass when you're repairing this stuff. But other than that, yeah, I'll let it sit for a day, come back in, block everything back down, probably put another 3 coats on everything to get it really super straight. This KD 3000, when you mix it 4 to 1, and I put like a splash reducer in it to kind of get the flow a little better, because I don't really use high pressure. I kind of narrow it down so it's not going everywhere. So it's really thick. So when you put 3 coats on, you're putting like 4. And I primer really heavy, so. But yeah, other than that, yeah, we'll get this going and let it dry.